Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Big thank you to everybody who left a comment on my previous video about the idea for forthcoming videos taking us through an amount of these doldrums that we call winter. Officially, meteorologically, there's a big word for this time of day, it is the first day of winter today. Last day of autumn was yesterday. We got topsy-turvy weather at the moment. It goes from cold to mild, back to cold again. Today it's been raining most of the day since I got up. It's dull and miserable. Then it's going to go cold again for a couple of days, and then it's going to go mild again for a couple of days. So it's up and down. All I can think of is that when it's mild like this, it doesn't cost me so much money in heating, both in the house and out here obviously. When I came down this morning at silly o'clock, it was 16 degrees out here. The thermostat's set 13, so obviously the whole night the heater hadn't kicked in once. We like that a lot, but obviously that's quite a high energy user, and still it's got to be done. What else? On that subject of weather like this, we're 21 days from the shortest day of the year. Then the days will start getting longer, slowly but surely. And it is slowly as well for some time. But effectively, now for the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks, we're on short days. And you could say that the length of the days are about 8 1/4 now. They will go down to just under 8 basically, and then they'll start coming back up again. But like I've said before, in this country, if you're looking at an 8-hour day in a chart, you've only got 7 hours if you're lucky of reasonable daylight for growing things. And you get days like this, whether it's overcast, drizzly, raining, and even on the top shelf, with the short day length and the lack of light, there's very little growing going on. So, yet again, we emphasise the point, if there's very little growing going on, don't keep chucking water on everything. If it can't be used, literally, because things aren't growing much, you end up messing your roots up. So. Unless you're lucky. I mean, when I go round watering, I've got some pots that get just the barest minimum of a trickle round the edge of the pot. And some pots I pick up and I think, no, you can wait till next time. And then others I pick up and give them a good soak. And you know what the difference is? It's not the orchid, it's the media. Yeah? Things that have been recently repotted, especially if they're in larger bark, they can have a soak. It'll be dry in a day or two. It'll evaporate, it runs out down through the cracks. Doesn't last long. Something in small bark, it's going to stay wet longer. Something in moss and bark is going to stay wet a lot longer. Yeah? So it's not just the frequency, it's what the media is made up of as well. You put all that together and you can't really do a regular watering. It's still subjective as you go round, pot at a time. Right, so that's that. My prescription's sorted out now. I think I've already said that. I was annoyed this morning at the weigh-in. I put on weight instead of losing some more. And it's a few pounds as well, so I think I know why. It's winter, you tend to snack more, you're trying to keep warm, you burn more energy trying to stay warm. So, but it's cheaper than heating the house up to silly warm, so I have to put up with that. Perhaps we'll start the diet again after Christmas. But, I mean, I have lost a reasonable amount and I feel more comfortable for it. So that's that. What else? relatively recently deceased president at the Orchid Society. The rest of his orchids were taken to the Bournemouth Orchid Society to sell on some there, and the money taken will go to his nominated charity, along with what we've already collected from the sales at our Orchid Society. So that that is coming to a close now. I should get the last amount of money from Lynn into the account today or tomorrow, and then I can pay it out to his wife to donate to the charity. So that'll be that dealt with, basically. We are now presidentless. We haven't got one, and quite honestly, it sounds like the really important post at the top of the tree. It's the one that we don't need, and the one that doesn't really do anything. It just sits there. It's like a token gesture almost. But we know who the next president will be, but it has to be nominated and voted at the AGM, which is in June, so we won't have a president until then. It's not the end of the world. There are certain committee posts that have to be filled. There is a minimum level. I'm one of those. Treasurer, you have to have one because money is exchanging hands and stuff. You have to somebody has to take responsibility for cooking the books. Well, you've seen me cooking, yeah? Well, I can do books as well. That'll be the day. Yes, so that's that. The idea of the new videos certainly sounds popular and will go ahead as a consequence. There were very few negative comments left. I must point out, YouTube's a bit thick at times, the way it works. Obviously, the comments under a video come from they come from different people, don't they, all over the world. And my replies come from me, yeah? And most comments get an actual reply, actual words, even if it's only thanks, it's words. YouTube counts those as comments as well. So if I get 10 comments on a video and reply to them all, YouTube counts it as 20. And that actually helps the channel, which is a lot of why I reply, although I think it's polite to do so. I think it's rude to have lots of comments, and especially if there's questions in there, just ignore them. I know some of the bigger channels do, but this one doesn't. This one answers everybody to the best of my ability and all that sort of stuff. A few people have suggested doing care guides on orchids that I don't grow. That won't happen. So even in the new idea of videos going, sort of a genus at a time, or a part of a part of a genus, I'm not going down the path of talking about orchids I don't grow. I see no point, because all I'd be doing is looking it up and reading it out to you. Well, you can do that. You don't need me to do that for you. I think most people would agree that you come here for hopefully the experience, the year's worth of the growing. That's something that you can't get necessarily from a book, or the ancient runes and scrolls as I call them. So yeah, I won't go down that path. I wouldn't mind talking about a genus that I once had and did well with, and only as a consequence of moving from the old place to this place, they are now gone. I wouldn't mind doing that, but I still probably won't, because I'd have no examples to show. What would we be looking at? So I probably just won't do it. That's the easiest way. Have we got any new blooms to look at? I don't think we have. Well, we have, but it's not fully open yet, and it's a spike where the first bloom is down in amongst the leaves, and that's the one obviously that opens first. So we'll wait till a couple more are open. It's not a first time bloomer, it's one you will have seen before, and quite honestly it's not very grand, but it's one of those that warrants close inspection, because it is very, very attractive. But as soon as you back away from it, it just looks nondescript. So we'll have a look at that later in the week. Nothing much else. The Cymbidium with the one that we staked a while back, the buds are pushing on, they're swelling, and the ones near the bottom of the spike are starting to move out. As soon as they start to do that, you know that it's not too much longer to wait. So we should have some Cymbidium blooms opening in the not too distant future. And we got everything in bloom on the 8th, it's the first today. I don't think those Cymbidium buds will be open by then, be after that. So be it. What else? There's not a lot. I mean, you've probably heard me say it a few times, there's not a lot going on. And there just isn't. That's just how it is. But we've managed to scrape together an idea to actually produce videos on a reasonably regular basis with what I've got at this time of year. So, and thanks for all your you know, appreciation of the idea. So, thanks a lot. I think possibly, just as a sort of teaser I suppose you could call it, I will probably do the Dendrobium nobile types. Again, as I said, there's far too many Dendrobiums to do those in one video. They will be split up by type. Not by actual section, because remember the Dendrobiums are split up naturally into sections. Unfortunately though, the plants within a section do have similarities, but the care can be quite different amongst the plants within a section. So you can't really do a care guide for a section anyway, but I will be doing them by type and we will be looking at individual plants. But I think I might get on and do the nobile types reasonably soon, because it's very relevant, because they are resting type Dendrobiums. And they will be separate from the rest of the winter resters, bearing in mind virtually all of the Dendrobiums I've got, with very few exceptions, are drier in winter. That's not the same as a true winter rester. It's not the same. So we'll have a look at those in the reasonably near future, simply because they're the type of Dendrobiums. If anybody's got a Dendrobium, the chances are they've bought a nobile hybrid in full bloom and they've had it a while and they're not quite sure how to take it through the winter and get those blooms back again. So we'll have a look at those reasonably soon. Somebody asked if I grow any other slipper type orchids apart from Paphiopedilums. Simple answer is no. And added to that simple answer is quite a lot of the others I really don't like much. I really don't like those bubblegum things, you know, with the big blousy pouch. They just don't appeal to me at all. Some people have said you ought to grow frags, they would do quite well for you. Again, I'm not that keen. Some lovely colours, especially the bright red, but often only one bloom on a very big plant. Yeah, I know some of them have got successive blooms, but no, I'll stick with the Paphiopedilums, and if any catch my eye at reasonable prices, I may add to that collection, but it won't be many, because quite honestly, the blooms are incredibly similar, you know. So you get a dozen different types all in bloom at the same time. If you glanced past them, you'd sort of, in some cases, you might even think they're the same species. They are very similar. So I suppose you could say that about everything. That's really why I like the Dendrobiums. The variety of bloom size, shape and colour is quite diverse. Not many other orchid genera have got that variety within the genus, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, if you think about Cymbidiums, they're nearly all the same sort of shape. You know, they've got a distinctive look about them. You can glance and think, oh, Cymbidium, without seeing the plant. Not necessarily so with the dendrobium, so the variety is great. What else? Let's think, oncidiums. Most of the oncidiums have a look about them, don't they? Brassicas, they have a look. They don't vary an awful lot within that alliance category. So Cattleyas can vary quite a bit. The Cattleya alliance has quite a bit of variety in it. You're from the big blousy ones. I mean, some of the Cattleya hybrids are sort of 5 or 6 inches across. They're absolutely huge. You don't get many. So yes, at the moment I can't think of any more genera that I would stray into. There are some that would grow okay here. I'm aware of them and I could probably get hold of some, but as I said, I do have to like them as well. They don't have to be, I don't do it for the sake of it, I do still have to like them. And some of the orchid types that I could grow here, I'm just not that keen on, you know. I mean, there's some that, you know, the blooms only last, you're lucky if you get a week out of them. I'm not growing a plant for a year for that. To me, that doesn't earn its keep. You know what I'm like? Big blooms, don't have to be bright colours, but nice big blooms. And preferably more than once a year, but not essential. But when they do bloom, I like them to last quite a long time. And if they're fragrant as well, that's a bonus. So that's normally my criteria. Blooms I can see from in there that I don't need a magnifying glass for. And obviously from now on they need to suit this environment. That is more critical now than it's ever been. So yeah, I'm not going to do a spotlight today. Basically I'm standing here hurting. My back is playing up. It hasn't really recovered from messing about with that flipping carpet shampoo yet. I thought I'd sleep that off, but I haven't. And standing still is not ideal. Getting in and out of chairs, not so clever. It's not pain, it just hurts a bit. Niggles. Just niggles away at me all the time. Unless I'm asleep. So there's the answer then. Let's go and sit down in the chair and go to sleep. Well, we can't go to sleep this afternoon. The snooker final's on. So we will be watching that. I don't even know who's in the final because I couldn't stay up long enough last night to see the end of the games. They were just dragging on too long. You know, when you get it's best of 6, so it's you know, 11 frames, first one to 6, and when the frames are going to each individual, it can take a long time. And when you get a frame that lasts 55 minutes when it should take 10, you sort of think, oh, you know, I'm nearly up to my bedtime and I've seen one frame. So I can't stay up late enough to sort of watch the end of those sort of games when they're playing like that. But, you know, that sounds like the digger's going again. Remember I said the guy's taking the top off of the whole garden over the fence there. We didn't do anything yesterday, the digger didn't start up at all, but it sounds like it's going now. Yes, I can see it moving, just see it moving over the top of the fence, you know, the bucket top of the arm bit. He's doing a good job, I must admit. Yes, so I think that's going to do. Said need to move. Just lifting my leg up and down like that helps. I'm pretending to walk. I'm not actually going anywhere, but the legs are going up and down, which is what I need to do when my back's not too clever, is not stay in one place too long and not, you know, not sit down for too long. It needs the variety to just keep it moving, I suppose. That's all it is. Well, I know this video is not very long because my coffee's still warm. That's usually stone cold by the time I'm finished. So sorry this one's a bit short and everything, but like I've said, there isn't too much going on. But we do have some things to film. Oh, I've got to apologise. I felt quite guilty because of what I said about people not posting. Insa had to go out and buy something to make a video so that he could post something. Yeah, I am kidding. sure he was going to do it anyway. But that's something I probably won't do unless somebody brings some plants to any of the meetings that catch my fancy. There won't be any new orchids. I mean, the post is iffy this time of year if the temperature drops down and everything, and we'll be waiting for the shows to come round again, and the first show is in February, end of February, which is Bournemouth Orchid Society, and then a week or two later is ours, Wessex Orchid Society. That will be the start of the season sort of thing, February, March time. And then there'll be a few orchid events going through the year again as usual. There'll be some trips to Burnham's, I'm sure. We're booked up to go to the Mathers Foundation, so you'll get quite stunning videos from that place just because of the blooms that that will be on their plants. Their breeding program has produced some of the best Odontoglossum blooms in the world, literally, because they've gone back over and over again to reclaim species and bring them forward into hybrids to enhance. And their goal is really to get Odontoglossums with big, bright coloured blooms that last quite a long time on a plant that is more substantial and more sturdy against its environment. If you think, that's heading down the same road as what happened with the Phalaenopsis. They went from species, in some cases pretty delicate. Some of the Phalaenopsis species, if you move slightly out of their comfort zone, they just go downhill. They don't make it, they're sensitive. Now they bred that out of them so that we've got a type of orchid now that you can buy almost anywhere in most parts of the world that you just treat like a houseplant, or not far off it. They're just tolerant of variables. So if only all, mind you, if all orchids were like that, the fun would go, wouldn't it? The challenge would be missing. But yeah, Mathers are doing the same with the Cymbidiums. They want the Cymbidiums to get to blooming size faster, and bulbs produce 2 spikes that are self-supporting and don't need staking. They've got all that as their goals, and that's what their breeding program's up to. And it's a smashing day out, quite honestly. Hannah will come along, obviously, and yeah, I get a couple of good videos out of that with some really interesting and colourful plants. But it would be nice to video the tour, but that's not going to be allowed, basically, because they are doing their own videos now. There's a couple of Jim doing stuff, looking around and talking about the plants and things. So it wouldn't be fair to do a video in a place that makes videos. So we won't do that. But we can still film there. We can still film the plants and do something with the videos there, narrate them or something like that. So that's all to come next year. I keep talking about next year. It's not far away now. I mean, I've got a countdown on my computer telling me how many days to Christmas, and it's not long. Not long at all. And then get that over and done with, a new year, and then you just get that dead period where nothing happens for quite a long time. It's called January and February. And then hopefully we get towards the end of February and snippets, a few orchids show signs of starting to move. The odd little green bit coming out from the base or something like that. But it needs the longer days. Not so much the temperature rise, but it needs the day lengths to get back to a reasonable place, so that the day length and the temperature combined will trigger some growth. And that's when you have to start going careful, because as the growth starts, water and feed needs to be increased. And as the temperature and day length increase and the growth starts, your watering frequency might need to be increased, as well as what you're watering. So Anyway, I'm looking forward to Cymbidium blooms because I want to see if this new flipping fertiliser's working, or making any difference, I should say. Unfortunately, the one with all the buds, the one with the 3 big spikes that's going to be open first, I haven't got a picture of what those blooms looked like last year, so we're going to wait for something else to come into bloom. But some of the other spikes are pushing on. I suspect the next spike to open will probably be on Hannah's plant. That's pushing on quite strong now, but as I said, I've got one forerunner that will be open before all the others, and then we've got to wait quite a while for the next to come. But they're all pushing something on. Some are still maturing growths, but they've all got at least one spike, even if it's only that big. So we've got that to look forward to, which is good. Yeah, right, I need to move. I stood still too long. And thanks to all the people supporting the channel. I know I say it in the Sunday chat, and I say it every Sunday, but it is important. Without you people, what would be the point of me standing here? What would be the point of the YouTube channel? So it is important for me to say thanks for the support. Even if it's just watching a video now and again, even if it's watching 30 seconds and doing a thumbs up, every little bit helps. It all contributes to the growth of the channel. And this time of year, there are less people watching. As there are less people watching, there's probably less advertisers placing advertisements, apart from Christmas stuff, obviously. Christmas type adverts are probably not going to happen that often on this type of channel because they're not compatible. Yeah, the advertisers tend to try and pick on, channels that have a subject matter that is at least related to what they're trying to flog in, what they're trying to sell. They chance their luck as well. They put adverts that are totally unrelated on channels, but it's probably a mistake rather than deliberate. But yeah, so any help with the channel is greatly appreciated. Coming down the financial list, you've got the super chats, you've got the membership of the channel itself, you've got the Patreon site where you become a patron of the channel. Again, that's a form of financial support. Watching the adverts, at least 30 seconds, is a form of financial support. Going YouTube Premium, where you never see an advert on YouTube ever again. It is nice, especially if you watch a lot of music stuff. Nothing worse than your favourite piece of music, really emotional, and then flipping advert kicks in, drives you up the wall. Well, if you go premium, that never happens again, and the creators still get paid. So you're not depriving the creators of a bit of few pennies return for their work. And obviously, bare minimum, I would say, is thumbs up. Unless you really dislike a video, I see no good reason at all not to do that. I do it on every video I watch, and I've only ever undone it a couple of times, because remember, you can take it off again. So if I start watching a video, I do the thumbs up immediately. That's how I work. And then if I really dislike it, which is just never happens really, then I could take it off if I chose to do so. I don't think I've ever done a thumbs down. I may have done, but I don't remember. Anyway, yes, so thanks for the support across the board, in whatever shape or form. Thanks, it's appreciated, greatly appreciated. And on that note, I will bid you farewell. Thanks for dropping by. See you in the next video. Bye for now.